Alex Georgakopoulou, and I'm Professor of Discourse Analysis and Sociolinguistics. My small stories research started as a bit of a counter move to conventional narrative analysis and biographical research that had really focused too much, in my view, on a particular type of story, the past events, tele-led, non-shared story, normally told in interview situations. I was working with very, very different material in a very different context. So I was studying ethnographically groups of female adolescents in Greece, and subsequently we were doing a project on a multi-ethnic school here in London, and we were also studying young people's everyday life interactions and the sorts of things they were doing there, the ways in which they were talking about themselves, telling stories about their everyday life, relating with their friends and their peer group were very, very different. So I felt that there was a need for an alternative paradigm for studying everyday life stories and identities. Small stories is not just about ontology, what is a small story, but it is about contextualization of the phenomenon. What do stories do in their context? And it's also about epistemology. What does the analyst what kind of mileage does the analyst get out of looking out for the emergence of plots in the microcosm of everyday experience? In some ways, the small stories paradigm translated really well into the social media landscape because, as I have argued in some of my work, small stories research almost prefigured the situation on social media, where the sorts of activities that I was describing with small stories suddenly became very salient, very prevalent, almost the norm in terms of how people were being directed by social media apps to narrate themselves. At the same time, taking a paradigm, a model that had arisen out of the realities of interactional data, face-to-face, physically co-present participants, taking that paradigm and using it to research social media required more than one methodological leap. How do you collect data? What are data on social media? What methods do you use? How does ethnography, which is a method that lent itself really well to the examination of small stories in interactional contexts, how does ethnography translate into the social media landscape?